welcome to Everyday Moodlings. I'm your host, Jeree Parks, and in this episode, we're going to talk about Pan Pastels. Now, this may be a new product for many of you. Maybe you've played with these, maybe you haven't, maybe you've heard about them. Not sure if you want to add them to your arsenal. What are they? Let's talk about that first. So this is what the Pan Pastel looks like. It is basically a pastel that is in a pan, hence the name. So most of the time pastels, oil pastels come in a stick. This comes in a pan. Comes in a huge variety of colors. And each color has different shades. There's 3 of them. There's the regular, which it says on the back here, of each color. And then you have the regular shade, so it actually says, like this one says bright yellow green shade. That's the regular one. Then you have one that's dark. This is a dark version of the magenta. That means versus the regular magenta, they have added black to it. Then you have the light magenta, and that has white added to it. So they all coordinate really well. You can also buy white and black and blend a blending solution. Just a huge array of products you can buy with it. Then for applying them, you have different blending tools. We're actually going to work with a big sponge today. They also have smaller tools that you can use if you're being more specific with how you're adding the color, but we're going to be doing kind of some general background work. So we're going to set those aside. Dick Blick is a great place to get them if you want to buy individual colors. You can get groups of colors on Amazon as well as Dick Blick, but like I said, I think there's close to 100 colors. Just a super array of options to choose from. And we're going to pull out this little this little watercolor journal that I've been using, and you remember this one if you watched the Color Burst paper stencil one. Still in love with this. I've started to add more to these backgrounds. This is my first year really kind of venturing into the whole idea of doing art journaling. And I'm really not putting a whole lot of pressure on myself. I just, if I want to play around, I'll open up a page. And at this point, I'm really just kind of playing with the backgrounds and building. I don't want them to be super bulky at all, even when I finish. So just kind of adding layers. And then eventually I'll add some quotes and words. So this is from that same video last time, or a couple times ago, when we talked about watercolors and paper stencils, and that was so much fun. This is one more. We're actually work on this one today, hence my green and purple colors. But since then I've started to add, not done much with that yet. So this is paint, and we're going to be talking more about that in a couple of weeks, and using paint, like how this one's kind of coming together. So this is just a really quick base. That's nothing so far. So I want to work on this one. If you didn't watch the other video, I created particularly this page using a paper stencil and doing kind of an art print with it. That's the same thing as this one. This was done with paper stencils. Obviously, I've added to the bottom here, getting a mess out of my work surface here. Added to the bottom with some stamping, and I used some distressed crayons. This one's I've added some paint and some stamping, but this one I've kind of left alone. So I want to go ahead and add in some extra layers in here, and in doing this, I'm going to show you how to use one way how to use Pan Pastels, which is really fun for the stamper in all of us. But before I get started, I wanted to get kind of rid of some of the white around here. So we're going to go ahead and add in some extra color. And to pull it together, I'm going to use the green over here and the purple over here. That'll allow us to kind of pull things together a little bit. The blending tool I'm using is by Color Block. box. And this is actually my favorite ink blending tool. The Tim Holtz are nice, but I like this because of the handle on it. I could have gone a little darker on there. I might pull out another color green to go just a little darker. But this purple should work quite nicely over here. These are two of my favorite colors. This is chalk ink, Dewdrop, so I have to replace them quite often because I use up all the color. Now that color burst, the watercolor pigments that we used on here are pretty set now. I can come back in here and add some color and not worry too much about losing my image. And so let me see if I can find a better green here real quick. Okay, so I found a better green. And now on top of here, we're going to go ahead and stamp and then apply the Pan Pastels. And I'm going to kind of do a little bit more monochromatic here. I'm going to use the purple over here and the green over here. That'll create a nice subtle image on top of what we already have. So always with art journaling, you're just trying to kind of build and build with any background that you're doing, whether it's mixed media or a tag art or a artist trading card. I'm always trying to build that background, and right now it's just very flat to me. I just don't have enough layers here, enough interest. So now how do you apply a Pan Pastels? Well, typically you want to use watercolor paper, something that has a tooth to it to grab that pigment. It doesn't work as well on smooth. You can use it on smooth. It's just really, really hard to build up more than one layer of color because there's nothing to kind of grab it. Pan Pastels are not permanent. They can be erased. They can be rubbed off. I find them fairly stable, and so I don't worry too much about them. But you can make them permanent by a couple of ways. One, by using a fixative, which is sprays in a can. I don't particularly care for that option. Or two, you can do what I do, which is to put a very thin layer of watered down matte medium over the top. Then it is set and I can add other things on top of it. But you do have to be really careful when doing that to make sure that you don't move the color around at all. But we're going to go ahead and stamp, and we are using Versamark ink or watercolor ink. And when we do this, you won't really be able to see the image very well, but this ink will grab the Pan Pastels once we start to add them to the page, and it will reveal it. Now I do have some black, obviously I use this for black, and I may end up picking up some of that color, but it's okay. Not a big deal. It'll still pick up the Pan Pastels really nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp these real quick. I think I'll do one side at a time, and then we'll add in our Pan Pastels before we go on to the next side. Now I could have obviously put this on a block if I wanted to, but I actually prefer not to. Gives a bit more random of a look. Now all you do is you kind of sweep it across here to pick it up, and then you come over here and it will reveal the image that we stamped on there. Now if I wanted to, I could come back in here with a paper towel and kind of rub away some of that extra. But but I don't want to. I kind of like that it's added just a little extra color to everything. You can really see that stamped image now, really revealed, adds some nice texture to the background. So let's go ahead and do our green side now. Okay, so I have it all stamped. I'm going to go ahead and add in my green. Watermark ink is real similar. If you've never used it before, it's very similar to embossing ink. Not quite the same. It's got kind of almost a stickiness to it. See, if I go back over these, it'll, you know, stick more color. There. It's a little lighter on this side, mostly because this color kind of matches that green more, so it's more subtle than it is on this side. But we are continuing to kind of grow our piece, build upon build upon build. So I feel like I'm getting to the point on this one where I can start to add in more things on top that are necessarily part of the background, where we'll get to a more finished piece. At this point, I know I'm going to add in the die cut that I used to make this. I'm going to add that in and then kind of seal the whole thing up with some matte medium before I go on to the next step. So if you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be a link to the blog and you'll see this finished page. And then if you're on the blog, obviously you'll get to see all of it and watch the video. And there will also be links for the video on how I created the watercolor background for this page. If you have any questions about anything I did here, please be sure to let me know. I hope you kind of enjoyed just a quick overview of Pan Pastels and what they are. This is just one technique that you can do with them. There's a ton that you can do with Pan Pastels. Great for mixed media art. And if you're interested in learning more, you should check out my class on them. Again, if you have any questions, please be sure to let me know. My name is Drury Parks, and I'm the host at Everyday Moodlings, and I'll see you next time.